are back with a cranky 7-month-old. Can you believe that? I mean, not that she's cranky. Of course she's cranky. But she is 7 months old. I can't believe we're doing this video. We got a lot of stuff to cover, and I'm going to try to make this video a reasonable length. So if you're new to my channel, this is Tennyson, my daughter, 7 months old, of course, as previously mentioned. My name is Jessica. I'm a mental health mom, and I make videos about mental health, motherhood, all things conscious living. And so I'm also going to start doing product reviews soon. So today we're going to be talking about everything that a 7-month-old baby, at least my 7-month-old baby, does. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. I will answer them as soon as I can. Lesson number 1, 7-month-old babies love to grab things and put them in their mouths. So I love, thank you, can I have that for just a second? I'll give it back. I love these Happy Baby teethers. They are wonderful. They're not overly sweet. They're made by pediatricians and dietitians, and Tenny absolutely loves them. They come in a blackberry one as well, but this one doesn't stain her clothes. It's just a much more manageable color. So, oh, as I said, there's my pen. Want your teether? There we go. If I don't get the other one out fast enough, she'll try to get it out of the package. As you can see, she is sitting up on her own just fine. She started sitting up at around 6 months of age. She can also almost completely pull herself up to a sitting position from lying flat on the floor. She'll try really hard. She's been trying for quite some time. It's funny because she has been trying to do crunches since she was just a couple months old. Every time you lay her down, she'll like try to crunch up. So she may be a little bit ahead on actually pulling herself up to a sitting position from the floor. I'm not sure. Her doctor and nurse even thought it was really funny. When we put her on the scale at her doctor's office, the nurse is like, oh yeah, I remember you. You're the baby that does crunches. So I have no doubt that pretty soon she'll be able to really easily just pull herself up from the laying position on the floor to a sitting position. Or not necessarily pull herself, but prop herself on her elbows. She can do that. Right now she uses one elbow to come up off the floor from a lying down position. And occasionally she can get herself up to sitting. Come on, do the duck.
She's going on an elbow. She did it!
Yay! Hello. She's sleeping anywhere from 10 to 12 hours every night. Her bedtime continues to get earlier and earlier. She used to be quite the night owl, where she would be going to bed sometimes after midnight, even at 1 a.m., which didn't surprise me because I'm a night owl too. But now she'll go to bed typically by 10:30, and sometimes even as early as 8:30, which is awesome. I find that I also... you okay? I find that I also have acclimated to her schedule. I'm usually a night owl. Like I said, I would stay up anywhere from like 1 to 2 in the morning, and now I can't do that anymore. By 10:30, I'm usually done, and I at least want to lie in the bed if I don't go to sleep. What? You want up? Come on. Sit up like a big girl. Ooh, there's Mama's pen. Oh, no thank you, no thank you. Can I have it? Ooh, what's that? Time for another teether. This month has been incredibly difficult because she stopped napping, like altogether. She would take maybe a couple of 8-minute naps, if even that. It was usually a matter of her falling asleep while eating, and then as soon as I would try to put her down so that I could go and do something around the house or whatever, she would wake up. She just was not napping at all, and that has changed as of 2 days ago. She took 2 naps that were each an hour, maybe an hour and a half, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. I'm hoping that she sticks to that because those 8-minute naps were absolutely killing me. First lesson, keep teethers on hand. Whew, okay, so you see it. This is 7 months old. Full-blown tantrums, lots of separation anxiety. It has been incredibly difficult for me to put her down. And when she does let me put her down, she won't let me walk more than a few feet away from her. If I get out of her field of vision, or if she even thinks that I'm going to leave the room, it's a really big deal. She just loses it. So it's a challenging age, but it's also a very cute age. She will mimic faces. She has this really mischievous smile now where she crinkles her nose and her lips are just flat, like straight across. It's really cute. She really enjoys touching our faces, and my husband wears glasses, so she enjoys grabbing his glasses and she'll put them in her mouth, and of course that causes its own issues, but he's a good dad, so he lets her do it. We've slowly been introducing elimination communication. We're not very serious about it, honestly. We do intend to use this as a form of potty training her, but right now things are just too crazy for us. I don't have the time and energy to dedicate the patience and persistence that elimination communication requires. So it's really easy for me to be able to tell typically when she's pooping. So usually once she starts purple pushing, you know, I can see her in her face trying to poop. I run her to the toilet, and so we have had what I would call 2 poop victories where she's actually pooped in the toilet instead of her diaper. I really only rush her to the toilet whenever I notice that she's pottying. We've tried a couple times where I'll sit her on the toilet right after she eats and things like that, but we haven't really seen anything significant happen as a result of trying that yet. But again, we haven't been very serious about elimination communication. We're just doing it when we can fit it into our schedule. She says mama now at about 5.5 months, maybe a little sooner. Honey. Maybe even sooner than 5.5 months, she started saying ma when she would get really upset. And now she puts the 2 ma's together. She'll say mama. And it is still usually when she's upset. Okay. For those of you who know, we cloth diaper, and right now she is in the size, she's in size 2 Thirsties diapers, and she's on like the last rise for 1 size diapers. She can easily pass things from one hand to another, so I don't know if you noticed when she was eating her little teether, she was kind of passing it among her 2 hands. This is a sign that the 2 hemispheres of her brain are communicating very effectively. She's been doing this for about a month, maybe a month and a half now. And she also doesn't clasp her hands together anymore when she's in her bouncer. So about a month ago, she stopped doing that. Initially when we would put her in her bouncer, she would bounce up and down with her hands clasped together in front of her, and that's actually how she did most things. Now she lets both hands fly free because she's really into exploring with her hands. Her mouth is still her main... Ooh, oh, I'm sorry. Her mouth is still her main resource that she uses for exploring, but she uses her hands as well. She can pull herself up from a sitting position to a standing position. I'll see if we can get it on camera here. I'll use my hands. I'm not helping her at all. She's just grabbing onto my hands and then pulling herself up. Can you show us? Oh, honey. She still doesn't have any teeth. There's really not even any sign of any teeth breaking through the surface. No swelling of her gums, anything like that. So really no sign that she'll be getting teeth anytime soon. I got my teeth pretty late as a baby. I think my teeth came in between 9 and 10 months. I've heard from the pediatric dentist that that's actually a really good thing, that their baby teeth are much stronger and more resilient the later that they get them. So I don't mind at all that she doesn't have any teeth yet. Not to mention that when she's nursing, she has started biting my boob. Her favorite toys right now are anything that she can bounce in. She also really enjoys her walker. As far as other toys that don't involve mobility, she enjoys things that have handles that are really easy for her to clasp and kind of throw around. She also really loves buckles. Anytime you buckle her into her car seat or her bumbo, she takes a lot of time and really carefully explores the buckle with her hands, her mouth. She looks like she's trying to break herself out of it, actually. I didn't realize this was such a common... Yay. I didn't realize it was so common for infants to like buckles, but there's actually a buckle toy that I will link below on Amazon I'm going to get for her. I just found it a couple of days ago. So I know that this is a very polarizing issue, and I completely understand if you choose not to vaccinate. I completely understand if you do elect to vaccinate. We do vaccinate. We separate our shots. So there is one, the Prevnar shot, that is kind of known as the angry shot. It usually stings and is a little painful and they're sore from it afterward. We always elect to have that shot on its own day, and I highly recommend to do that if you're someone who does vaccinate, because I found that the first time we did Tenny shots all in one day, she handled it pretty well. She didn't cry for very long, but she was just very fussy the rest of the day, whereas ever since then we have done the other 2 or 3 vaccinations, I think, because one is oral and then the other is a shot. It's like an oral vaccination and then a combo shot that they get into their thigh, and then the Prevnar shot. So we do the oral and then the one combination shot all in one day, and then we go on a separate day, usually a month later, to do the Prevnar, which is the angry shot. Because it's just the one shot all on its own, I can usually distract her to the point where she doesn't even notice that she's had a shot. And that's the technique that we use. I'll kind of pinch at her other legs or hold a book in front of her face or a noisy toy. And if she does start to cry, I'll kind of play with her. And we have successfully had her last 2 rounds of vaccinations without any tears whatsoever. So that's a method that we use. I recommend you use it as well. If I can find the footage, I actually did record her getting a shot, and as you can see, she hasn't been crying at all, even though she was younger then. That was a couple of months ago. So if you can use that method, I highly recommend it. It's worked quite well for us. We are not baby-led weaning purists, but we have used primarily baby-led weaning techniques and food guides to transition her to solid foods. She's been eating solid foods. She started eating solid foods at about 4 months of age. We first started out with baby yogurt for her once I realized that she was wanting all of our food. Chad and I would bring our dinner to the table, and she would be sitting in my lap, and she would reach for all of our food. She'd reach for our plates. And so I also got the sense that she was still a little hungry sometimes after she would eat. Now, I did check with her doctor to see if we needed to supplement with any formula or if I needed to somehow increase my milk supply. And that didn't seem to be the issue. She was gaining weight just fine. She was in, I believe, the 85th percentile for weight, the 95th percentile for height. So she was physically very healthy. There was no need to supplement with formula. And it appeared that she was ready to try solid foods. So he said anything that was on stage 1 was perfectly fine, so we gave it a go. She really enjoys eating carrots that I have boiled. She also loves chomping on just some cold celery out of the fridge. She, of course, doesn't swallow any of the celery. That's mainly for teething, but she really enjoys holding on to it and chewing on it. Some of her other favorite foods are blueberries and blackberries. She loves eggs, tuna, French fries. Really, whatever we're eating, as long as it's not something that requires teeth for her to chew up, as long as it's something that she can really break down with her gums, then we let her try it. There are lots of resources that I have used as a guide for baby-led weaning when it comes to which foods are safe for them to try and which are not. I highly recommend that you use a guide if you're choosing to do baby-led weaning, and that you don't just wing it because it's really not safe. I'm also CPR and first aid certified, so if for some reason she did choke on something, I would know what to do. One thing that I thought was really interesting was that at 4 months old, it's really a good time for them to try things if you have the instinct that your baby is ready. That is, every baby is different. But we definitely, like I said, had the instinct that she was ready because she was reaching for all of our food. And I did not know until I read this that it's actually an opportune time before babies are a year old for them to try new things because their gag reflex is so far forward. It's really difficult actually for them to choke on things. Usually the food will hit their gag reflex if it's too large, and that reflex will kick in and they'll kind of gag it back up. I noticed that a lot with Tennyson's, but really in the beginning when she was just trying out solid foods, it seemed that her gag reflex was super sensitive, and so if she would get a bigger piece of something that she was chewing on, or if she tried to swallow it when it was too big, she'd kind of spit it back up. She'd cough a little bit and spit it back up, and then she'd chew it again and she would swallow it again. And if it wasn't small enough for her to swallow, she would cough it back up again and chew it until it was. And it was like this process of really things kind of going in and out of her mouth. We would use one of the bibs that has the pocket in the front, and it would just be full of food. So really for that first little bit when they're trying things, it's about them learning to chew. It's about them really exploring food and what it's like to chew it and what it feels like to swallow it, rather than them getting their nutrition from the food that they're eating. Their primary form of nutrition up to a year old should come from either formula or breast milk. Of course, I am not a nutritionist. Everything that I have learned from baby-led weaning. So if you have any doubts whatsoever, consult your doctor or a dietitian, nutritionist. Do your research, people. As far as I'm concerned, I have gotten my cycle. I got my cycle again at about 4.5 months, since I'm not exclusively breastfeeding. I'm pumping also. If you exclusively breastfeed, you shouldn't get your cycle for about 6 months, but because I was pumping, I got mine at about 4.5, and that is very typical, anywhere from 4 to 6 months if you are pumping in addition to breastfeeding. My weight is 123 pounds, which is just like 3 pounds heavier than I was whenever I had Tennyson. I have not started working out, and it's just because things have been too crazy. We're just past the holiday season. We're in January now, and I just haven't had a chance, guys. I have to get back on the bandwagon. One of my New Year's resolutions was to work out, and I've started a little bit here and there, but nothing serious, which is why I didn't mention it. But that's pretty much it. I'm doing very well. Tenny's doing very well. I'm really hoping she starts sleeping a little more soon. That would be really helpful for me. But the most important thing is that she's healthy. We're all happy. I haven't had any postpartum depression or anxiety. I've saved some of my placenta pills because I did get my placenta encapsulated for those of you who are not familiar with my channel. I did get my placenta encapsulated, and I set aside about a week's worth of placenta pills for things like if I had any hormonal issues or baby blues or any problems with lactation. I could just pop a few of those pills, and that would typically balance me out really quickly and really effectively. So I have some of those left. I haven't really needed to take them in a while, but we're both doing great. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful for you in preparing for what it's like with a baby at 7 months old. And if you have any questions, leave them below. We'd love to hear from you. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.